Hello, this is Max Drake. I'd like to talk to you about MaxLauncher and getting emails, sending emails with Thunderbird, which is my default email account thing that I use because I can have lots of different emails on there. So I'm just going to press Control Tab that brings up MaxLauncher, and if I type V into there, what this does is it creates just straight away, gets up, at this point in time I've got it set up as a template, and it actually goes and puts the two person in. I could put CC and a BCC in there, it puts something in the subject line, and it can put emojis in the subject line, and then it puts some text in here. And it's also made a hint for attachments that if I just delete that attachments, you see that highlighting goes. It's just a reminder from Thunderbird that if you use the term attach, it's telling you should actually add something inside here. So that's what I've suddenly ended up doing, and it's a handy way. I've just got a simple button that I can do. So I can use that on my Stream Deck, and I can use that in my MaxLauncher through here. So how does that work, or how did we get there? Well, initially what I wanted to do was I wanted to use the keyboard shortcuts in Thunderbird, and when I tried using them, I was spending an awful lot of time without very little success at all. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons is that you have a tree on the left hand side called folders that you can create lots of other folders, but all the folders are underneath a certain email account. And if I'm in this second email account and I go write a message, it will send one using the from of this email account. If I'm down here and my cursor just happens to be here and I send an email, it will send it from that account. What I wanted was to be able to send it all the time from the default account up here. So one of the ways that I was doing that was I would wanted to get into this column through here, and then I could just tab all the way up until I got to the top and then send one from there. And I thought that would be a handy way of doing it, except I couldn't automatically get into the folders. They have a toggle key, and what the toggle key does is it makes you just jumps between different ones. So if I actually had that highlighted, I could be in this bottom panel here, which would actually be the contents of that particular email there, or there, or there. So the toggle key would jump from one to the other, to the other, to the other, and then just jump all the way around. So depending on where you started, you could be toggling into the wrong one. So I could be already in the left-hand column, and then it would toggle me into the wrong one each time. So you didn't know where you started, and so you didn't know where you ended up. So you couldn't end up with a reliable script through there. So what you could do is you could pause the script, select the area that you wanted, and then carry on the script. But then that's putting a pause in the middle of a script, which I didn't want. I just wanted it to activate. So I was a bit frustrated, and I wasn't getting very far at all. Then I came across this gentleman here, Jack's AutoHotKey block, and he ended up with one sending mail using Mailto command. Now the Mailto command is actually an HTML link. So if we actually just click on this here, so this could be a button, you could actually have this, or this is just a bit of highlighted text that we come through here, and this one's actually filled out a name and it's filled out a bit of information through here. Now how's that happen? So let's just go and look at the script for that, and the script for that is basically, it's an href with a tags, and inside the href it just says the mail to, and then it says what do you want this to be thing. So I've actually got this title here called send an email to me. And while I was playing with this, I actually found there was one called rapid tables. Now in this one here, you can actually just fill out all the boxes. You can have multiple 2 people, multiple CCs, or multiple BCCs. You can put your information in here, and I've got this one to the idiot, Max, and I can generate the code for that. And now if I just copy that generated code, copy, and go into that bit of script through there, and save it, and if I just refresh that page there, it'll come through with a new one to the idiot Max, and if I just bang on that one there, it's got all of that information in there with a lot of multi-line text down in the thing. So that's really handy to do. You could do that. So I suddenly thought, well, okay, then that's the way that I need to write my script. So this is what I ended up doing. And the other nice thing was, so when I started to write the script that I did, the other thing that I could do is that I could have the emoji in there. Now, to make the emoji work, you've actually got to save your script file, this file here, as a UTF-8-bomb. Now, the way that I do that is I open this file up in Notepad++. It has a little tab called encoding, and you change it from UTF to UTF-bomb. If you just right-hand click on desktop, and your context menu will come up with make a new text file, that will be created as a UTF-8. If I made a new file in here as a text file or an AutoHotKey script file inside code, it will also create it as a UTF-8. And if it's UTF-8, this just comes out as garbage. Your emojis just don't show at all. So as long as you save it as UTF-8, it works fine. Now this one here, I just templated in a way. So I ended up with the email 1, email 2, email 3 and subject. And then I've got my body up here, and I've also got just commented out what's in that body. But all the script is actually running is this bit here. It's just run this and then return. So it's just concatenating all of these things together in some way. So it's saying mail EM1 and EM2 as 2. This EM2 is to be CC, and EM3 is to be CC, and EM3, so email 3 is to be CC. So if we want that, and then put the subject in there and put the body in there. Now, to make a break line inside the body, you actually end up, because you're writing in the field in here. So you're not writing in AutoHotKey script, you're actually writing inside a text document. So therefore, inside a hotkey script, to actually get a new line or anything like that, you would use a tilde and an N, which is new line, or tilde and an R for that. But inside of here, you use the %OA. Capital A, and somebody said use a tilde for if you're kind of running halfway in the other one. Anyway, I use a tilde plus a % plus an O plus capital A, and it works as a new line, so that's fine. So that's what I've got in here is my templating at this point in time, so that's fantastic. So that gets me part of the way down what I want. So I was very, very pleased with what I got at the end of the day. I ended up with a button that did that. And then, of course, it's never quite satisfied for all the things you want. One of my signature, so here's the thing, in that templating thing that I actually had there, I've got multiple emails, multiple signatures, and I've also got a salutation at the beginning as well. Now, inside Thunderbird, each particular email can have a specific signature. Now, you can actually end up putting an add-in that would come up on your email message, and you would have a pull-down plugin that would actually allow you to change your signature each time. So that's one method that I could do it. I ended up with a whole load of hotkeys that I've been using for that, but I'm trying to get away from hotkeys because you have to remember what they all are. So I'm trying to avoid those as much as I can. So, so this is why I've got 3 different types of signatures through here. And one, I've got a very formal one, which is actually HTML. But I can't write the HTML in there. It just comes out as HTML rubbish. So I'm sort of in a bit of a fix for that. But one of the things that, so I started to look at a different way of doing this, and I came across a couple of videos, one by Joe Glines, which was about Outlook and writing HTML inside Outlook, and one by Juno, who's using Gmail to do this, and they ended up with a script that you actually just run the script, so you don't need to open up Thunderbird or anything, just run the script and they'll send an email for you quite nicely. And so if we just go and look at those scripts that they actually write, I just want to highlight their scripts. So I thought, well, the thing which I want to investigate their stuff for, so I wrote a second article on doing that, is that Joe Glines also did another one which was about using Gmail through here. Is that the thing why they're using the Gmail is you can change your permissions of your security on Gmail such that it'll accept a script coming in with an email through there, so an automated script to use it. And the reason these two are quite interesting because you can get HTML in the body of the email, so that was important. So when I did that, so I looked at their scripts, and they've got a couple of nice characters about each of them. in Juno's one, or inside here, because you're sending it as a script, you've got to give your email that you're sending it from, and you've got to give that password of that email. So if you put your password into here and you gave somebody else that script and you said, oh, look, this is the way that I do these automated scripts or something like that, if you do that, you will actually show somebody what your email address is and what their password is for that. So they both use a different method to actually solve these things. Juno has done it this way. So if I just trigger off Juno's one, F, what he does is he has a little password box and he's put hide on it, so all you get is asterisks, so nobody looking over your shoulder to see what your password is. And it's only when it puts that password in there, it replaces the password with whatever it is in here, and then it sends that email, and then it goes off to the provider, Gmail or whoever it is. They say, yes, you've got the authentication, you've got the email address, and you've got the password associated with that, and it will then compile this thing and send it. And inside the body of the text, you've got your HTML. The other nice thing with this particular process is that you can actually add attachments to it. So you can actually just give a link to where the attachment is and send it in as well. The Joe Glines method of doing it, instead of actually popping up with a little pop-up box, what he actually has done is that he's created a little ini file, and he's called it auth.ini. And inside that, he has a key called Gmail password, and so that's the key, and the value is called CDO password that it's filled in here. So you could actually have multiple accounts. So from the point of view of Juno's one, you've got to remember which one and be able to actually type that email in each particular time. In the Glines one, what you actually need to do, you can take this ini file and have it in a different folder completely. So either without thinking, you can copy whatever's in a particular folder that has all of this in, but you're not giving your password out about any of the email addresses you've got. The other thing is this, is you can have 15 different email addresses, and you can actually just put, instead of Gmail password there, you can actually have a specific email so that it's got the password that it brings back based on that email account. So you can actually have this set up 5 or 6 times. So depending on which one you're using, it will actually just read that particular password and put it in there. So I quite like that one, is that once it's in there, you don't have to think about it. You set it up, you put your authentications over in a different place, and you're safe to go. Both of those I'm very excited with, because you can get HTML body in the thing. But what kind of was a little bit of a dampener for me is that you couldn't use emojis in the headers. If you put emojis in there, it just turned it to garbage. Even if you save this script file as a UTF-8-bomb, because it seems to be compiling it to mush it all up to actually send it. If you see this one here, it actually calls it at the beginning, create an object of type object create. That somehow it stops the encoding actually happening there. There may be a method of doing that. At this point in time, I actually haven't bothered exploring that to do any of those things. So I ended up feeling pleased about the exploration of what I'd done, but disappointed in it couldn't do. And one of the ones I decided that what I want is that I want the emojis in the subject line, because I find they're quite good as a signature, and I'm kind of they're my in thing at the moment. So one of the things with their ones is that you can actually preset all the addresses, you can actually add attachments, you can actually write HTML in the body of the text, you can actually have multiple people to send to and everything like that. You get the negatives with both of their process of running the scripts is you can't put the subject emojis in the subject header. You need to set up your password so that it can be fed into the script. And also the HTML inside the script can be a bit unwieldy. I was trying to use join and I wasn't getting that to work very well. So in the end, I was actually using the concatenation method through here, which is the dot between HTML. So I was actually having to put the HTML in tags, because it kept on hitting this background and suddenly saying, oh, you can't use that, that's a protected word or something. So I was actually having to put it into quotes to make it a string, and then use a dot to actually concatenate through there. So I found that a little bit unwieldy as well. So I ended up going back to what I had already. And if we just go back to what, and I'll just run that script there again, B, and I'll just draw your attention to something through here. So a feature that you get in a lot of programs is you've got this underline under a whole load of the pull down menus through here. So if you're actually in that and you use the Alt and then the underline is the first letter, which is F, it lets you have the pull down of that. If you actually have the underline and type I, it lets you insert, and inside the insert there's one called HTML. So I could put some HTML into here and it would go and put it into my thing. So I can actually have one process that just does the Mailto and creates this object, which is the message ready to go, but I don't send it, I actually just hold it there. Then I can do a second iteration over by going in and using insert and putting in some HTML. So that's the method that I use. Now a nice little feature is this, to actually start writing AutoHotKey. This is one of the things which I'm actually finding with using the browser and using AutoHotKey scripts and things like that, is that MaxLauncher will let you run to a file or let you run to a folder. You can't fire a hotkey at it. So unlike the Stream Deck, on this one you can't do a hotkey straight to a key. So what you end up having to do is point to a file that runs a hotkey for you. But the hotkeys only run if the object that you're sending the hotkey to is in focus. In other words, it's WinActive. And so you've got to activate a certain window to allow the hotkey to actually do. So this is the interesting part on there. So let's just go and see what we're actually doing. So I'm just going to go Control and that, and I think I was on 3 for programs, and I'm going to do B, which is this send email HTML. On this one, it opens it up, it goes through, it does the insert, so and then it goes through and puts in my HTML. Now if I just go in there again, insert HTML, all I'm doing is just pasting some stuff in there and I'm banging it in there again. And so it's in there twice now. So if I just delete it all and I just go into the insert, I just come down here and I go and there it is. I just want to mention, I just use HTML because it keeps the files quite small. I was working with a large organization that actually had everybody's little PNGs, logos, and all these sorts of things inside of the signatures of people and their staff and stuff. And what actually happened, the server got so full of emails because every time you send and resend and send it backwards and forward and all of that, it ended up with multiple copies of this. So suddenly there was this massive bloat in the email. So the email itself might have been very, very small, but with all of these images and stuff, and a lot of them were PNGs and things, which are not as small as the JPEGs and stuff, they ended up just filling up the server and things. So I'm sort of a bit anti filling up. So I just had buttons on these ones. Will activate as buttons when I come through. So that's my preferred method of doing it, but I quite like the thing through here. Now, a couple of things there. Oh, damn, I shouldn't have done that. But if we just look at the script for that one there. So first thing, what we're actually doing is we're just doing the Mailto, and we've set up here the mail that we're actually going to send to. We can do the CC or the BCC and subject. Now, I'm not doing a body through here because that part of the body is what I'm actually pasting in. So I'm just first of all creating this object. Then the second thing that I'm doing is that I'm going through and I'm getting my signature, which is the HTML text file. So it's just a text file with the HTML in it. Now I did try sending, when I set up my signature and got it all working, I did try using in AutoHotKey, you can use send or send input or send raw, and then it just reads that file. So let's just go back into there and just go into the B. And if you see, oh sorry, I messed that up. Yeah, send it. But actually, that ends up being just user. You see, there's quite a lot of text into there, and when it's typing one character at a time, it takes blooming ages to do. So I ended up suddenly thinking it's trying to write the thing, but it was just taking ages. So in the end, I actually found the best way to do it was actually file read, go and get the actual thing, and put it into a variable. Then what I do is I clear the clipboard, and then I put the variable into the clipboard. And then all I do is I just come up to here, I just use the Alt I, come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go enter onto that, go paste onto that, and then just go insert, and it drops it in there. So I've still got the salutation and whatever I want, and I've got this part here. And that happened very, very quickly. Now the other thing which you do, when it's actually trying to find the WinActive to focus, if I just said Thunderbird, it would bring up the Thunderbird. Or there's potentially, it could have brought up my reminders tab, which is always open. But when you actually come through and use WinSpy, you will actually find, we're just going to go and get WinSpy on here. A handy thing for WinSpy is if you actually just go into one of those things there, and I click on that, if I actually copy that and paste it into here, you see what the actual name of it is the Emojicon. So you clearly know which one you're in. So it's actually quite good as a little simple signature. So if I go into my other one and I say what's my emoji on that one, and I say what's the window there, and I go and get that window, you see it's actually the window is for the different emoji. So therefore I can use emojis to actually filter a whole lot of things for me. So when I was doing this, I was actually having a whole lot of problems. Now my OBS tends to suck up all of my RAM, and then it slows things down. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up with all these sleep times. So I've got a preset of my times of sleep. Normally I've got it at about 300 milliseconds. But because it's the OBS is there, I take a while to activate the window to make sure it's open before I start doing all of the other steps of sending the Alt I to actually open up and then work all the way, go down 5 and then press enter and then paste in the thing and then do all of those sorts of stuff. So I've just got, because those times can change a bit, I find just having the time set up here as a variable, I can just tweak it once and then it just slows everything down. So that's where you see it moving through the thing as it is most of the time I do it. And then the other one is depending on if it's activated already, but you see, because you already made it, it's actually live already in the background. So all we're doing is just activating it to actually bring it to the forefront so that we can then send the AutoHotKey script directly to that. And so this is where I've got the identifier. Now, another thing which I like about actually having the emojis, no, I can't use that one, in the subject header is another little useful trick that I've actually found inside of it's got to be in the sent folder, is that I can actually search through. So this works quite good because I work with a few different people, but it's on the same project, but I'll actually email to one person and CC somebody else in, and possibly the CC has responded back onto something, or this and that and the other happens and this and that happens. So I actually find this is another method of actually filtering out the, so what will happen is that the person who responds, they will come up on the thing, but it's not necessarily the person that the email that I want. So sometimes the filtering from that can sometimes be a bit of a pain. So I actually find that this is another way of making sure that I've got all of the responses or all of the things that I want. So I find that it's a good thing to do, because again, one of the problems with things is that you can end up, especially with a lot of the stuff, you end up with quite complex subject headers and things like that, and a lot of them might be quite similar. So it's a kind of good way to actually do another lot of signatures. So I actually find it's a signature, and it also stands out in your email box that it's either one that you've sent off, or it's a reply to one of yours that you've actually gone on a particular subject or topic that you've actually got. So this is why I decided not to go for the automation ones, but to actually go for, the ones where you actually just run the scripts to send the emails and stuff like that. These ones allow you to actually use a whole lot of different emojis that you can actually set up for different people as well. So at the end of the day, I'm very happy with how this has gone. Now, it's gone through a journey of actually doing the automated ones and things like that. You do, if you're going to go for the scripted ones of those, you do have to make sure that you've got to go into your Gmail account and change the security level to allow it to accept those. I think I was playing with that. It's on the AutoHotKey forum. There's a few of them that do them automatically, and I did find I played with it before and had difficulty getting it to work. But I actually find this is exactly what I want, and it's in a place where I want. Now, again, the reason MaxLauncher, there's 10 across here, 3 down, so there's 30 in there, and I've got 10 to go. I've got 300. I can actually have one specific for emails, and I can actually have a whole lot of different emoji icons that I've got depending on who I'm sending to. Now, just another thing as well. Now, when I was actually reflecting on this and looking at doing this video, one of the things I actually considered, why didn't I use templates? Now, there are things where I've used templates. I think there's one called Quick Text, and there's another one called Smart Template or something. And the Smart Template one goes into your address book of a particular email address, so you can put a first name and a second name, and you can put variables through your email. I always find those a bit, although they're supposed to be a bit personalised, I always find they're a bit uncomfortable because you know that it's a mass send out one anyway. So I prefer if they just say hello, user or whatever, personally myself, because there's no sincerity in it. So the personalisation I don't particularly like. So I could go in, and I do have templates that I've played with before that I can actually just suddenly saying, again, I've got to maybe get to a certain folder to actually make those happen, but maybe I can actually use that by going the Alt and E up to the top here, coming down to a particular folder, setting a certain folder as a favorite folder such that it always goes to a particular place, like I call the templates a favorite folder, then it would go there, then I can go in and do things. So that was another methodology that I could use, and especially if I had a whole variety of things. But I don't use that many emails, and there's only a few projects that I have on a particular point in time. So my preference is to actually just use the scripts that I've got there as templates and actually just modify them, and then kind of say send email to Fred Joe Blow or something like that, and actually just make a key on this. Now again, because this one here, I can set this up on this one here. Inside the data, you can actually save that as a file, or you actually have that data file and you can save that particular data file. You can copy that up to another computer. Now the one thing with this is this one goes into my user account, and on a particular one, 2 of my computers actually have Drake as my username. On one of them it doesn't. It actually has a different one, so I actually have to go in and change that user just by doing a find and replace on that to actually use that one. But it sets up, as long as you've got the folder where it's going to get all of those things, you can actually just copy them across to do all the other ones quite nicely. The other thing which I'm finding with the Max thing is inside the edit, I'm starting to actually use the images, but what I'm doing is inside where I keep all of my scripts for MaxLauncher, I end up with a subdirectory with a screenshot of the icons so that they're always looking at a relative directory to actually go and get the icons, so that can be a consistent way across all of them. So once I've got these set up here, I can actually set them up onto my OBS as well, depending on which ones I actually use. So one of the nice things with this, I've got this highlight. This is great here because I generally just use this for highlighter code, which is this little orange thing through here that I use for my videos. I think the hotkey that I had for it was something like Shift plus Windows plus W, and then I had to reboot the script that it was in and reboot the whole thing up completely because I couldn't just switch that one off. Now I've actually just broken it out as a separate little something like 5 or 10 line script that I got from off the forum, that I can actually just close it and restart it again. So I find that's a lot easier and convenient because I generally just use that button inside the OBS stuff that I actually do. So in the end, I ended up taking quite a long journey in how to send just simple keys to actually send up. Now, in my template one, I've got a whole load of different greetings and stuff like that. I can leave that as a general one, and then I can set up a whole load of other ones that I can set up where I'm actually sending whichever. I can do a friendly greeting or a more formal greeting to maybe the same email ones, depending on whether it's a start of a project, so you're on more formal terms to begin with people, and then you can end up having a more casual one. So I can actually have, for particular projects, a formal email, and especially one that they may be passing on for other people and they may need to contact me, and then have a casual one if it's just a comment on feeding back from something that you've actually done. So again, this is the great thing with the MaxLauncher, is that it has got so many keys to do, and you don't have to remember them. You can just see the image. This is why I love the WYSIWYG stuff for that. So I've covered a few topics there. You know, some on the script, some on the things that how to generate Mailtos and things like that, and all of those things. So hopefully you can take away something that might be of use to you personally in some of the process that you use. This is just my setup and actually how I'm using it and the issues and stuff that I actually found. Now those are the issues with Thunderbird, but if you're using the Mailto, you don't have to be in Thunderbird, you can be in anything. And so that was the point. It actually just goes to your default mail account through there, that you can end up setting up a hotkey to be able to do that. So anyway, I hope that's been of use to you. If you found it useful, please give a thumbs up. If not, op panyaha.